Okay, so I just finished watching a movie and I was debating whether or not to make like a joke review about it or to really just review it straight up. And it's bad enough that I just need to just get it out there and explain. So I just watched Me Time with Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg. Here's the problem with this movie. So, movies in general have a generalized structure where I'm shaking the whole thing. So, it has a generalized structure where you have the problem, and you eventually, within the first 20 minutes, and that's just being very loose in general, within the first 20 minutes, you have a clear direction in your mind of what is the resolution that you are looking for as a consumer. Okay, you have to look at everything kind storytelling as a kind of a business in a sense. So if I'm coming to your product and I have a desire, okay, that desire is amplified by or actually that desire's catalyst is actually the question or resolution you have hinted at in the very beginning of your movie within the first 20 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is okay, so when the movie begins, you are hooking me in by saying, "Hey, if I don't finish watching this movie to the very pinnacle of its ending, the pinnacle of the story, the very last frame of the movie, I will never have this answered question, this resolution, uh this emotional uh uh roller coaster be resolved. There's something there that won't be given to me or won't be achieved in my emotional construct unless I consume your art. So that's me being very vague because art is vague, okay? Art is vague. There's many different ways to tackle this. There's many different um things you can do here. There's it's not just saying, okay, well, make a question and I have to answer that. No, it doesn't have to be a question. It could be an emotion. It could be a thought. It could be uh so many there's so many different things that work. It could be a character arc that you're interested in. You're trying to see if that character will change. You're interested to see this. It doesn't have to necessarily be the audience, but the audience has to feel some kind of intrigue in the movie, in the story, or else you don't have a story. So, that is me being long winded to say that Me Time literally has nothing. There's certain points. I'm not the only one who's watching this. Me and my girlfriend were watching this. And at many points during the movie, I'm talking hour in, we're still like, where is this trying to go? We have no clear direction of where this movie even wants to go. We don't even know roughly where we're heading, and not in a good way. We don't know emotionally where this movie could even end because we haven't been given a clear, definitive problem that needed to be resolved in any aspect of this way. Nothing needed to be resolved. There was no reason for us or purpose for us as a viewer to watch the movie, including the fact that we haven't laughed at all. There was literally one joke, and it was just a joke about him pooping in somebody's bed and it looking like a rabbit poop, okay? Like me laughing about it right now is not because the joke was funny. It was literally because I'm over here laughing about how absurd and stupid it is for me to laugh at something like this. But that being said, it's not that's not good. Okay, there is no redeeming quality. So the movie begins with literally, it says 15 years prior. It was some guy's birthday. Now, it wasn't actually 15 years prior because uh, the guy's turning 44 and he was turning like 28 in that. And he's like, oh, I'm turning 44, I think. I don't know. I think it was supposed to be 15 years prior. Maybe it was 12. I don't know. Because if it was 28 to 44, I mean, that works. But I'm not 100% sure. I watched several movies, and I'm telling you right now, I did not like any of them. But me moving on. So, yeah, let's say 28, 44. I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. And it is 15 years prior, I believe. Uh, their parachute, they're doing this weird, I guess, wingsuit. It's more of a, I think it is the wingsuit. That's what it's called. They didn't try to mention it in the movie. Bad CG. Who cares? It's fine. Plenty of movies have bad CG. Just move on. But so they jump off, and then oh look, something goes wrong with Kevin Hart's. Oh look, his friend tells him things. It saves him. Then he's like, oh man, thanks. You're always there for me. End of that. Okay, moves on. 15 years later. Okay, now Kevin Hart is married. He has kids, and he doesn't really hang out with his good friend Mark Wahlberg. Okay. He's like, oh, yeah. So, what we've just established 2 seconds prior was Mark Wahlberg was there for his friend through thick and thin during that very dire situation. And then we have Kevin Hart say, you are always there for me. Thank you. You saved my life. And now, 15 years later, Kevin Hart avoids Mark Wahlberg. And we're like, okay, why? He doesn't really even give a reason. He's like, oh, he's just too extreme for me. But he wasn't showing that he was being too extreme. In fact, he was showing that he was a very caring and loving friend. And now you're just being a terrible friend. Okay, well, if that's the arc that we're trying to do, no, that actually doesn't really become the arc of the story. Is, oh, you just have to learn how to be a friend again. No, no, that's not at all what's going on here. So it's it gets to a point where you're like, okay, so what? Where are you going from there? From there, we literally go. Sorry. From there, we literally go into just see that, okay, Kevin Hart's a stay at home dad, and we just kind of get really into that being a stay at home dad, and the wife's the breadwinner, and how the stay at home dad kind of copes with that. Eventually, he tries to have some me time. There's some bad jokes. There's some him trying to jerk off alone. His wife catches him and is like, "No, go ahead, jerk off. It's fine. We're leaving." And then he then decides, you know what? I'm gonna go to my friend's party, my friend's birthday party. And now there's some little jokes thrown in there with him talking to people from the PTA and little stuff like that. But, let's gloss over that. So he goes to his friend's birthday party. Of course, Mark Wahlberg's just naked and there's a bunch of people doing their own naked thing. And then they go to this retreat where it's just out in the desert, really. And from there, Kevin Hart has a scuffle with a mountain lion and then gets the term big dog, and that gives Kevin Hart this sense of, yeah, I'm a man again. I'm a man. Yeah. This is what we do as men. And so then he gets to a point where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, now he Instagrammed, and out of nowhere, he accidentally brought these people that Mark Wahlberg's character owes $47,000 to, and so Kevin Hart jumps up there and it's like, "I'm gonna help you. Go ahead, break my finger instead of his fingers." So he gets his pinky broken by this one lady to settle a debt, so that way the guy gets one more day to pay the $47,000, and then the whole place gets torched on fire, and everybody's forced to leave, and then Kevin Hart's like, "No, no, no, no. Let's move this to my." Oh no, no. Before that, hey, let's go to my wife's friend's house, who's like a billionaire, who she works for, and let's trash it. So they just go there and they trash it. Now it wasn't straight up let's trash it. It's, hey, let's just do something to it, right? Let's just do something. Well, that's all you really know. And then they start messing with the turtle, and then you have like an outrageous person who's their Uber driver, and then antics happen with a turtle, and then hey, they go into the guy's house. They just do stupid little pranks, which is not stupid little pranks. It's like, hey, we're going to take an upper decker. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I'm going to poop in his bed. They pull an Amber Turd. Uh, just random things like that. They'd steal all of his left shoes. Just stupid things. Then they leave, and then they save the turtle, taking it to a rescue place to or like a vet, and then of course uh Kevin Hart's like, "Oh no, come to my house, bring everybody to my house." So everybody goes to his house for a party, and then he's like, oh, my wife came home because the billionaire had a security system that caught them, and the wife comes home and is like, "Oh my god, you're a terrible person." And then they have like a little bit of a separation. He's moves out, and but he also pays the debt of pays Mark Wahlberg's debt, and of course that helped uh, solidify the rockiness. Now, keep in mind we're an hour plus into it. That's the only time that we actually get some kind of like big, something bad is going on, and then he literally just goes, "You know what? I was wrong for what I did," and he just resolves it himself by literally just going around and saying, "I'm sorry." That's really the end. There's no arcing story of any kind. There's no problem that really is given. Uh there's nothing building. There's nothing for this comedy to even do. This is like, hey, let's just watch a regular guy go through some stuff. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I could literally just go to a random person and say, "Tell me about your little adventure," and it would be more interesting than anything that happened in this movie. It's a couple of grown 44-year-old men. Well, I'll be honest, they're older than 44. Mark Wahlberg's in his 50s, but still, there's people who, hey, you're gonna act like you're out of nowhere. You're gonna act like you're 12 or a teenager for a little bit of the movie, and that's the only thing that spurs anything in the movie. I understand if it was like, hey, this character wants to get back into their old self, and so and the wife is like, "Oh, oh, you can never relive your previous life," and he's like, "I'm having a midlife crisis," and then becomes this kid again, and then it's like, oh, you know what? I need to act my age. I mean, that's literally the idea behind American uh um American Pie 4, where you have Stifler. He's trying to act. I'm a kid still. I'm a kid, and then or American Reunion. That's it. And he realizes he has to grow up. That was his arc in that. They did that better over there because they established that from the get go. How he was like, "Oh, I want to be young again. I want to be this. Well, I'm not old. I'm not old. Oh, I'm gonna do this." That didn't happen here. Everything feels so manufactured. It's just like, well, we need to do this. Just do this. This would be kind of funny. This would be kind of quirky. This would be kind of woke. This would be kind of this. I mean, they could have done this so much better. It was so haphazardly written. Just, hey, I want this joke. How do I get this joke? You know what? What if we just do this? Hey, what if we have them come over here and they like hurt a millionaire's house? It's kind of like, hey, remember in The Hangover where they were like defacing somebody's house and then like messed with their animal, Mike Tyson's animal? Let's have them do that. But you know what? Oh, remember this other movie where they did this and it was like these mild little pranks, these like school kid pranks. Let's have them do this. Let's. It's like the writers did not know how to actually write a real movie. So they just found little moments and just stitched them together in the loosest way possible without any sheer form of a structured movie at all. It was so haphazard. It really just gets to you and it just gives you such a headache and you're like, "Oh my god, why did I watch this?" I hated it. Ah, I hated it. If you wanted a movie that actually like did what this was so much better, and that was Fist Fight or Teacher Fight, used to be called, but it was Fist Fight with Charlie Day and Ice Cube. I mean, they did this so much better. And it actually mounted to something and it gave you some kind of intrigue through the whole thing. This movie really literally legitimately gave me a headache. I actually am in physical pain from this movie. It gave me not just anger for the kind of money and the kind of talent behind it, it gave me legitimate pain to sit through it. But I did because there's no way it could have been as bad as it was, and it was really bad. But yeah, so yeah, don't go see this movie. Don't watch this, even though it's number one trending. Wow, number one trending? How on earth is this number one trending? Just because it says Kevin Hart? Now I even watched Kevin Hart's movie Man from Toronto. That was immensely better. It had its flaws, but it was at least funny. Immensely better. Yet that's not number one trending. I don't get it. I don't get it. Thanks though. Don't watch that movie.